deep inside a dusty drawer. A square of glossy paper showing secrets that we do not speak of anymore. Your coat was oversized and yellow as you leaned against the wooden rail. The colors have all turned to amber, like an old forgotten fairy tale. We had no worries on our minds back then, just looking at the endless sea. And I can still recall the salt air blowing through the branches of the tree. The chemistry is changing slowly as the decades pass us by. But I can see the silent laughter shining in your quiet eyes. Some pictures never lose their magic, even when the edges start to fray. We hold the warmth of summer mornings long after the light has gone away. The memories remain in focus, though the world is spinning out of view. And every time I look at this, I find myself right back with you. The city grew around the quiet harbor where we used to run around. They built a dozen glass skyscrapers rising high above the sandy ground. But in this frame the world is static and the seagulls never fly away. We are forever frozen in the sweetness of a perfect Saturday. I touch the faded plastic border, wondering where all the moments went, and feel the gentle weight of everything that we so deeply meant. The chemistry is changing slowly as the decades pass us by. But I can see the silent laughter shining in your quiet eyes. Some pictures never lose their magic, even when the edges start to fray. We hold the warmth of summer mornings long after the light has gone away. The memories remain in focus, though the world is spinning out of view. And every time I look at this, I find myself right back with you. We did not write a single word upon the back to say the date or year, because we thought our love would be so loud the world would always hear. Now time has swept the details off the table like the falling autumn leaves, but there is still a golden thread of hope that my fond heart receives. Some pictures never lose their magic, even when the edges start to fray. We hold the warmth of summer mornings long after the light has gone away. The memories remain in focus, though the world is spinning out of view. And every time I look a square of fading color, keeping us together in the dark. Forever young beneath the sun. The needle drops with a familiar click and starts a low and steady hum, a sound that carries all the heavy secrets of the years that had to come. I watch the black wax spinning slowly underneath the warm and yellow light. And suddenly I am transported back into a chilly winter night. We had no furniture to speak of in that tiny second-story flat. Just two old pillows and a sleepy black and white sleeping cat. Music started playing, we would forget the bitter cold and wrap ourselves in melodies that never could be bought or sold. The grooves are worn and scratched from playing 20,000 times or more. They still carry every step we took across that wooden floor. The song plays on through all the changes of a world that moves too fast. A sweet refrain that keeps us anchored to the beauty of a golden past. We find our harmony in places where the modern noise can never reach, and listen to the timeless lessons that the ancient singers try to teach. You wore a velvet ribbon in your hair that caught the candlelight so sweet, while I was trying hard to keep the rhythm and avoid your dancing feet. The singer sang about a promise made beneath the silver summer moon, and we believed that we would never have to face the ending of the tune. But records have to stop eventually, and the room goes quiet once again, leaving a lonely echo of the way things used to be back then. The grooves are worn and scratched from playing 20,000 times or more, but they still carry every step we took across that wooden floor. The song plays on through all the changes of a world that moves too fast. A sweet refrain that keeps us anchored to the beauty of a golden past. We find our harmony in places where the modern noise can never reach, and listen to the timeless just try to teach. Let the needle run its course in the quiet of the room. Just a spin and then a click, a sweet and lingering perfume.
Headlights cut a path of white across the empty asphalt road. The dashboard clock is glowing blue as I carry this familiar load. I turn the heavy plastic knob to find a signal in the dark. Among the static and the interference of the passing state park. And then a voice comes drifting through the speakers, sweet and thin. A song we used to sing together back when we were bound to win. It sounds so distant, like a message sent from some forgotten star. But it brings back the exact feeling of just who we really are. The signal fades and crackles as I drive beneath the concrete bridge. But I can hear the chorus rising over every misty ridge. A lonely transmission carrying a love that never learned to die. It travels through the midnight air beneath the vast and empty sky. And even when the frequency is lost among the rushing wind, I keep the melody alive because of how our lives were twinned. You used to lean your head against the glass and watch the street lights pass and say that nothing in this crazy modern world was built to last. But we had found a secret frequency that only we could hear, a radio station that would play our favorite anthem all the year. Now I am driving through the valley all alone at 3 a.m. and searching for a single note to bring me back to you again. The signal fades and crackles as I drive beneath the concrete bridge. But I can hear the chorus rising over every misty ridge. A lonely transmission carrying a love that never learned to die. It travels through the midnight air beneath the vast and empty sky. And even when the frequency is lost among the rushing wind, I keep the melody alive because of how our lives were twinned. It is funny how a simple sound can make the distance disappear and make a memory from 20 years ago feel close and near. The DJ doesn't know he's playing counselor to my broken heart, or healing up the pieces that were slowly torn apart. A lonely transmission carrying a love that never
It travels through the midnight air, beneath the vast and empty sky. And even when the frequency is lost among the rushing wind, I keep the melody alive because of how our lives were twinned. Static in the speakers now as I watch the morning rise, but the tune is in my head underneath the open skies.
The leaves are turning yellow on the branches of the maple tree, and everything around me seems to whisper of what used to be. The first cold drops of autumn start to tap against the window pane. A soft and rhythmic lullaby that tries to wash away the pain. I put a kettle on the stove and watch the steam begin to rise, and see the reflection of a younger pair of dreaming eyes. We used to share a single coat and run across the muddy park, and laugh until the street lamps flickered on to chase away the dark. The season changes, but the feeling in my chest remains the same. And in the quiet of the afternoon, I almost call your name, falling like the tears of a sky that has to let the summer go. We watch the seasons changing in a dance that was so soft and slow. Thing I found. The streets are empty now as people hurry to their cozy homes, while I am sitting with a book of old romantic poems. You wrote a message on the cover page in faded blue ink to tell me always to remember what we used to think, that love is not a passing storm but like the soil beneath our feet, a place where two different journeys can finally meet. The season changes but the feeling in my chest remains the same. And in the quiet of the afternoon, I almost call your name, falling like the tears of a sky that has to let the summer go. We watch the seasons changing is built to last and last. Falling like the tears of a sky that has to let the summer go. We watch the seasons changing in a dance that was so soft and slow. But even when the winter comes to cover up the frozen ground, the warmth of what we had together is the sweetest thing I've found. Tripping on the windowsill as the evening shadow falls, I still hear your laughter ring through these quiet, empty halls.
The sand was still so warm beneath our bare and tired feet as we walked along the shoreline where the dark and ocean meet. The boardwalk lights were glowing like a string of golden beads, while we paid no attention to the busy world and its needs. You had a silver bracelet that would jingle when you moved your hand, and we wrote our initials with a stick into the wet sand, knowing that the tide would come and wash them all away by dawn, but happy just to hold each other before the night was gone. We were so young and foolish to believe the night would never end, but I would give up everything to have you back again. Underneath the purple sky we shared a secret paradise of our own, where every whisper had a meaning that was ours and ours alone. The ocean breeze was blowing through your cotton summer dress, and I was lost inside the beauty of your gentle, soft caress. We talked about the future like a book we couldn't wait to read, with every single chapter full of everything we'd ever need. But paths can diverge and the river flows into a different sea, and now you are a beautiful and distant memory to me. We were so young and foolish to believe the night would never end, but I would give up everything to have you back again. Underneath the purple sky we shared a secret paradise of our own, where every whisper had a meaning that was ours and ours alone. melodies that gently overflow. It is the same familiar song that we used to hear back then. And for a tiny moment I am holding you again. Underneath the purple sky we shared a secret paradise of our own, where every whisper had a meaning that was ours and ours alone. The world was sleeping while we danced beneath the gentle summer air, and I can still feel the touch of your hands when you were there. The tide is coming in once more to sweep the sandy shore clean, but nothing can erase the place where we have always been.
The cardboard boxes are all stacked against the living room wall, and my footsteps sound so heavy as I walk down the empty hall. The hooks where we once hung our winter coats are bare and cold, a silent testament to all the stories that we left untold. I see the little scratch we made when we brought in the wooden chest, and remember how we laughed until we had to sit and rest. This house was full of music and the smell of fresh baked bread, but now it is a hollow shell of things we never said. The key is turning in for one last final time, but I can still hear the bells of our old kitchen chime. The rooms are empty, but they still hold the sound of your sweet voice, as if the walls themselves had made a permanent and beautiful choice to keep the memories of love alive inside the wooden floor, even when the occupants don't live here anymore. I stand beside the window where we used to watch the morning sun, and think of all the simple things we did when we were first begun. The garden that we planted in the spring is growing wild and high beneath the quiet canopy of an autumn-colored sky. I hope the people moving in will treat this place with gentle care and find the same sweet happiness that we once used to share. The key is turning in the lock for one last final time, but I can still hear the bells of our old kitchen chime. The rooms are empty, but they still hold the sound of your sweet voice, as if the walls themselves had made a permanent and beautiful choice to keep the memories of love alive inside the wooden floor, even when the occupants don't live here anymore. We build our lives on plaster and on beat sound of your sweet voice, as if the walls themselves had made a permanent and beautiful choice to keep the memories of love alive inside the wooden floor, even when the occupants don't live here anymore. A final look before I go and leave the key behind, but you will always have a place inside my dreaming mind.
The neon signs are glowing through the heavy evening mist, reflecting on the wet streets like a promise that we missed. The diner on the corner still has that familiar glow, where we would sit for hours when the nights were cold and slow. I see our favorite booth beside the jukebox in the back, and feel the sudden longing of a heart that is off track. We used to share a milkshake with 2 straws and laugh all night, while outside the winter world was turning cold and white. The city keeps on moving to a fast and modern beat, but I'm still just searching for your shadow on the street. Through the haze of glowing lights, I see your gentle face, a timeless piece of beauty that the years cannot erase. We painted all our dreams in shades of pink and electric blue, and even in the darkest night I find my way to you. The steam is rising slowly from the grates along the street, as I wrap my coat around me to escape the freezing sleet. The traffic sounds like music playing from a distant room, a melancholy soundtrack for a heart wrapped in the gloom. I wonder if you ever walk these crowded streets alone, or if you have a different life that I have never known. The city keeps on moving to a fast and modern beat, but I'm still just searching for your shadow on the street. Through the haze of glowing lights, I see your gentle face, a timeless piece of beauty that the years cannot erase. We painted all our dreams in shades of pink and electric blue, and even in the darkest night I find my way to you. It is easy to get lost among the millions of bright lights that flicker on and off during these lonely city nights, but there is a specific spark that belongs to you and me, a shining beacon of the way we used to be. Through the haze of glowing lights, I see your gentle face, a timeless piece of beauty that the years cannot erase. We painted all our dreams in shades of pink and electric blue, and even in the darkest night I find my way to you. The neon flickers and goes dim as morning starts to break, but I will keep this memory for both of our sweet sake.
misty sky and casting long golden shadows as the cars go by. The radio is playing something soft and very sweet to match the gentle rhythm of the summer city street. You have your arm resting on the open window frame, and you are softly whistling a tune without a name. We have no destination and we have no place to be, just riding through the warmth of a perfect memory. The light is changing quickly from a yellow to a red, but I am holding on to every word you ever said. We were catching all the rays before the day would turn to night, and living in a world that was so beautiful and bright. The golden hour holds us in a warm and sweet embrace, and time can never run enough to wipe away this place. Your hair was glowing orange in the warm and fading beam, and everything around us felt like an enchanted dream. We talked about the simple things like books we wanted to write, and how the stars would look when they came out to shine tonight. I didn't know that moments like this were so rare and few, or how much I would miss the simple act of driving with you. The light is changing quickly from a yellow to a red, but I am holding on to every word you ever said. We were catching all the rays before the day would turn to night, and living in a world that was so beautiful and bright. The golden hour holds us in a warm and sweet embrace, and time can never run enough to wipe away this place. The twilight starts to settle and the colors fade away, to bring an end to all the beauty of a summer day. But in my mind the sun is always hanging in the west, and we are still together in the hours we love best. We were catching all the rays before the day would turn to night, and living in a world that was so beautiful and bright. The golden hour holds us in a warm and sweet embrace, and time can never run enough to wipe away this place. Just a lingering orange glow in the rearview mirror of my mind, a sweet and quiet happiness that we left far behind.
I have a bundle of old papers tied with a faded string that hold the quiet confessions of a past and distant spring. I wrote them late at night when I was missing could never find the strength to send them to your door. So they just sat in silence on the dusty closet floor. Now the ink has started fading and the paper has turned brown, like the falling autumn leaves that clutter up the town. They are the silent witnesses of what we could have been, if we had only had the courage to begin again. These are the words I never said that whisper in the dark, a secret fire waiting for a small and tender spark. I send them out into the wind to find their way to you, to tell you that my heart has always stayed so warm and true. I read through all the pages of my young and foolish hand and smile at how we thought we had the world at our command. I wrote about the day we met beneath the maple tree, and how you were the only one who truly rescued me. It is a beautiful museum of a love that had to hide, with all the deepest feelings locked securely deep inside. They are the silent witnesses of what we could have been, if we had only had the courage to begin again. These are the words I never said that whisper in the dark, a secret fire waiting for a small and tender spark. I send them out into the wind to find their way to you, to tell you that my heart has always stayed so warm and true. Perhaps it is much better that I kept them to myself and let them sit in peace upon this quiet wooden shelf, because the dream is perfect when it isn't put to test, and we can keep the memories of what we love the best. These are the words I never said that whisper in the dark, a secret fire waiting for a small and tender spark. I send them out into the wind to find their way to you,
as strong as the day that they were cut. Screen is showing gray and white snow, a fuzzy picture from a world we used to know. The house is completely silent except for the slow hiss, which sounds like all the things that we were bound to miss. I sit upon the carpet with my knees against my chest and think about the time when our young love was at its best. We didn't need a fancy show to keep us entertained, just talking on the porch while it softly rained. The analog signals are all vanishing away, leaving only digital shadows of our yesterday. I hear your voice calling through the static in the air, a distant radio wave that shows you still care. The frequency is weak, but the connection is so deep. A lovely little treasure that I will always keep. The world has gone so quiet now that everything is clear with perfect high definition, but no warmth to hear. I miss the crackle of the needle and the fuzzy screen and all the beautiful imperfections of where we had been. You had a way of laughing that would brighten up the room and chase away the darkest clouds of winter gloom. The analog signals are all vanishing away, leaving only digital shadows of our yesterday. I hear your voice calling through the static in the air, a distant radio wave that shows you still care. The frequency is weak, but the connection is so deep. A lovely little treasure that I will always keep. We try to make things perfect with our modern day design, but we lose the human touch that made the music shine. The scratches and the hissing are the parts I love the most, because they hold the gentle spirit of our loving ghost. I hear your voice calling through the static in the air, a distant radio wave that shows you still care. The frequency is weak, but the connection is so deep. A lovely little treasure that I will always keep. The white noise lulls me to sleep as the morning light creeps in, but your whisper stays with me where it has always been.
hands dancing on the floor. My fingers brushed against a piece of paper small and dry, and suddenly a wave of memory began to fly. It was a ticket stub from that warm July night, when we stood in the crowd beneath the flashing purple light. The band was playing songs about a love that never ends, while we were holding hands and dreaming with our friends. The price was cheap, but the memory is worth a million gold. A sweet and tender story that will never grow old. We were standing in the front row, shouting out the words, singing like a pair of wild and free-born summer birds. And even though the music stopped a long, long time ago, the rhythm is a treasure that my heart will always know. I remember how the bass would make the wooden rafters shake, and how you smiled at every single mistake the singer would make. Your face was shining bright with sweat and pure delight, as we danced together through the warm summer night. We lost our shoes somewhere along the dusty gravel road, but we didn't care because our happy spirits overflowed. The price was cheap, but the memory is worth a million gold. A sweet and tender story that will never grow old. We were standing in the front row, shouting out the words, singing like a pair of wild and free-born summer birds. And even though the music stopped a long, long time ago, the rhythm is a treasure that my heart will always know. Now I hold this little scrap of cardboard in my hand and wish that I could go back to that happy summer land, to hear the crowd go wild as the lights begin to fade, and live inside the beautiful promise that we made. We were standing in the front row, shouting out the words, singing like a pair of wild and free-born summer birds. And even though the music stopped a long, long time ago, the rhythm is a treasure that my heart will always know. I put the ticket back inside the pocket where it belongs, and hum the sweet melody of our favorite song.
I spent a dozen hours choosing every single song to make sure that the flow was right and nothing would go wrong. I wrote the titles on the card in my neatest black pen and drew a little heart to show I'd love you back then. I pressed the record buttons down together with a click and watched the little plastic wheels spin around so quick. This tape was like a letter written in a secret key to tell you all the things that you meant to me. The sound of tape saturation is so warm and sweet, a perfect little soundtrack for the place we used to meet. I made a mixtape of our love to play inside your car, to keep you close to me, no matter where you are. It has the whispers of our dreams between the music tracks, and carries all the happiness that we can never tax. I wonder if you still have that old plastic case, or if it got lost somewhere in a different time and place. Perhaps the tape is tangled up or worn out from the play, and all the music faded to a quiet shade of gray. But in my mind the music is still clear and loud, as we drove along the coast beneath the summer cloud. The sound of tape saturation is so warm and sweet, a perfect little soundtrack for the place we used to meet. I made a mixtape of our love to play inside your car, to keep you close to me, no matter where you are. It has the whispers of our dreams between the music tracks, and carries all the happiness that we can never tax. There is a special warmth that only tape can ever give, a gentle background hiss that makes the music live. It is the sound of time itself moving on the reel, capturing the exact way we used to feel. I made a mixtape of our love to play inside your car, to keep you close to me, no matter where you are. It has the whispers of our dreams between the music tracks, and carries all the happiness that we can never tax. Pressing play once again in the theater of my mind, to hear the beautiful tracks we left far behind.
The party noises died away and everyone is gone, and we are walking slowly in the cool and quiet dawn. The morning mist is hanging low above the empty park, as the sky begins to brighten and chase away the dark. Your hand is tucked inside my pocket, keeping warm and dry, while the sleepy city birds begin to wake and fly. We do not speak a single word, because we do not need to explain the gentle path where our two spirits lead. The night was full of laughter and the sound of sweet guitars, but this quiet walk together is the best of all by far. Before the sun comes up to start another busy day, I wanna hold this moment before it slips away. The peace of dawn is wrapping us in a silent embrace, and nothing in the world can ever take this place. I see the dewdrops sparkling on the blades of green grass, and watch the sleepy sleepy milk trucks slowly start to pass. We have this little window where the world belongs to us, without the heavy burden of the daily rush and fuss. I wish that we could freeze the clock and stay right here, where everything is simple and so beautiful and clear. The night was full of laughter and the sound of sweet guitars, but this quiet walk together is the best of all by far. Before the sun comes up to start another busy day, I wanna hold this moment before it slips away. The peace of dawn is wrapping us in a silent embrace, and nothing in the world can ever take this place. The street lights are turning off one by one to yield their gentle power to the rising of the sun. But the warmth inside my heart will keep on shining bright long after the morning has conquered the night. Before the sun comes up to start another busy day, I wanna hold this moment before it slips away. The peace of dawn is wrapping us in a silent embrace, and nothing in the world can ever take this place. Just a quiet step together in the morning light so sweet, our shadows slowly stretching down the empty street. The cup of coffee on the table has gone cold and black, and nothing that I do can bring the sweet warmth back. The chair across from me is empty, where you used to sit and read the morning paper with your sharp and clever wit. The sun is shining brightly through the kitchen window pane, but to my heavy heart it feels like cold and steady rain. I hear the ticking clock upon the yellow kitchen wall, and wonder if you'll ever make that morning call. We let the petty arguments get in our foolish way, and threw away the happiness of our yesterday. Now I am drinking bitter drops of a love that went askew, and looking at the places where I used to talk to you. The kitchen is so quiet and the shadows are so long, and I am left here wondering where we went so wrong. I see the little blue mug that you bought in Spain, and feel the sharp and sudden sting of a heavy pain. We used to share our dreams over a simple cup of tea, and talk about the beautiful things we were bound to see. Now I am left alone with all this empty space, and searching for the comfort of your lovely
we face. We let the petty arguments get in our foolish way and threw away the happiness of our yesterday. Now I am drinking bitter drops of a love that went askew, and looking at the places where I used to talk to you. The kitchen is so quiet and the shadows are so long, and I am left here wondering where we went so wrong. It is funny how the smallest things can bring the biggest tears and make you face the heavy weight of all your silent fears. I drink 1,000 bitter cups to have you back again and start our sweet romance back from the very beginning. Now I am drinking bitter drops of a love that went askew, and looking at the places where I used to talk to you. The kitchen is so quiet and the shadows are so long, and I am left here wondering where we went so wrong. The coffee is all gone now, but the bitterness remains in the quiet of the morning as the sunlight stains.
The train is rushing quickly through the dark and rocky tunnel, while the heavy smoke of memory is rising in a funnel. I watch my own reflection on the dirty window glass and see the flashing lights of all the stations as they pass. The girl across the aisle is reading through an old book, and she has that exact and gentle way you used to look. The way she turns the pages with her delicate hand brings me back to the times when our love was so grand. The train is moving forward to a destination new, but my mind is riding backward to the days of me and you. Looking through the dusty glass of a fast and rushing train, I see the fleeting shadows of our happiness and pain. We were two passengers who met upon a lucky ride, but we let the busy world sweep us to a different side. The brakes are screeching loudly as we slow down for the stop, and all the heavy packages begin to sway and drop. I look out at the platform hoping I will see your face among the crowded hurry of this busy concrete place. But the doors are closing quickly and the train begins to slide, leaving all my silly dreams of you on the outside. The train is moving forward to a destination new, but my mind is riding backward to the days of me and you. Looking through the dusty glass of a fast and rushing train, I see the fleeting shadows of our happiness and pain. We were two passengers who met upon a lucky ride, but we let the busy world sweep us to a different side. We ride the tracks of life without a map to guide our way, and pass the dark of every single day. But there is a specific stop that I will not forget, the golden station where our two journeys met. Looking through the dusty glass of a fast and rushing train, I see the fleeting shadows of our happiness and pain. We were two passengers who met upon a lucky ride, but we let the busy world sweep us to a different side. The train goes deep into the night as I lean my head to sleep, but the memory of your face is a treasure I will keep.
The streetlights are just starting to flicker in the gray, to bring a quiet ending to a long and dusty day. I walk along the sidewalk where we used to run and play, and watch the long shadows stretch and fade away. I try to step exactly where your shadow used to fall, and listen to the echo of your sweet and distant call. The neighborhood has changed so much since you went away, with new and fancy houses turning all the old things gray. But some things never alter in the chambers of my heart, and I still love you dearly as I did back at the start. I am tracing out your shadow on the cold and dusty street, and searching for the rhythm of our two matching feet. The world is moving forward, but I'm standing in the past, holding on to memories that were built to last. The air is getting chilly as the autumn breeze blows and carries off the petals of the last summer rose. I remember how we stood beneath the old oak tree and promised that we'd always stay so wild and free. Your shadow was so beautiful beside my taller frame, like a lovely picture that had no need for a name. But some things never alter in the chambers of my heart, and I still love you dearly as I did back at the start. I am tracing out your shadow on the cold and dusty street, and searching for the rhythm of our two matching feet. The world is moving forward, but I'm standing in the past, holding on to memories that were built to last. It is a lonely game to play when you are all alone, with nothing but the quiet streets and cold gray stone. But it is the only way I have to keep you close to me, inside the sweet protection of a golden memory. I am tracing out your shadow on the cold and dusty street, and searching for the rhythm of our two matching feet. The world is moving forward, but I'm standing The shadow disappears at last into the dark of night, but I can still see your form in my internal light.
I saw an old glass booth standing lonely in the rain, a relic of a simpler time before the modern pain. The red paint has started peeling, and the glass is cracked and gray, but it brings back the memories of our yesterday. I remember standing inside with a pocket full of dimes to call you up and talk about our happy future times. I would listen to the ringing with the racing happy heart, and pray that we would never have to live our lives apart. The digital world has taken over all our simple ways, but I still miss the magic of those sweet and analog days. I am dialing up your number on a telephone of gold to hear the sweetest story that has ever been told. Sing and rejoice. You would answer with a whisper so your parents wouldn't hear, and we would talk for hours of the things we held so dear. We had no need for texting or for sending photos through. Just the sound of your sweet voice was enough to make me new. Now the booth is empty and the phone has been cut down, a silent monument inside this modern rushing town. The digital world has taken over all our simple ways, but I still miss the magic of those sweet and analog days. I am dialing up your number on a telephone of gold to hear the sweetest story that has ever been told. The line is full of static, but I hear your gentle voice, and it makes my lonely spirit wanna sing and rejoice. It is strange how we are closer now with all our modern gear, yet we feel so much further than we did in that sweet year. I'd give up all the satellites and
deep under the bed, with a dusty handwritten label that I slowly read. It was filled with all the treasures of a youth we left behind, like a beautiful museum for a nostalgic mind. A concert ticket, a seashell, and an old map of the zoo where we spent our first anniversary under the sky so blue. I touch each little item with a soft and gentle hand, and travel backward quickly to that happy summer land. We didn't have much money, but we had a wealth of love, with a million stars to watch us from the dark sky above. It is a box of sweet memories that I will always keep, to look at in the evening before I fall asleep. Each little piece of paper has a story of its own, about the sweetest happiness that we have ever known. Here is the silver keychain that you bought me at the fair, and a little lock of brown ribbon from your summer hair. I remember how you laughed when I won the giant bear, and we carried it together through the crowded city square. These objects have no value to the people passing by, but they are precious treasures to my nostalgic eye. We didn't have much money, but we had a wealth of love, with a million stars to watch us from the dark sky above. It is a box of sweet memories that I will always keep, to look at in the evening before I fall asleep. Each little piece of paper has a story of its own, about the sweetest happiness that we have ever known. We pack our lives in boxes as we move from place to place, and try to find a home inside a different time and space. But the truly valuable things can never be packed tight. They stay inside our hearts to keep us warm throughout the night. It is a box of sweet memories that I will always keep, to look at in the evening before I fall asleep. Each little piece of paper has a story of its own, about the sweetest happiness that we have ever known. I close the cardboard lid once more and slide it back in place, but the warmth of what we had puts a smile upon my face.
As I sit upon the pier and watch the gentle water that we used to hold so dear. The tide is slowly turning as the afternoon goes by. Beneath the quiet beauty of a pale and winter sky, we used to fish for hours with a simple bamboo rod, and talk about the mysteries of the universe. universe and God. We had no worries on our minds about the passing years, or all the heavy burdens of our future hopes and fears. The water flows in circles and it always comes back home, just like the gentle memories that make my spirit roam. Watching the tide turn under the quiet evening sun, I think of all the beautiful things that we had once begun. The waves are singing softly of a love that cannot die, and keeping us together as the years go flying by. The seagulls are all flying to their nests along the cliff, while I am sitting quietly inside this gentle drift. I remember how you'd wrap your arms around my shivering frame and whisper that you'd love me through the cold and winter rain. Now the pier is empty and the wind is blowing cold, but I am holding on to all the stories we have told. The water flows in circles and it always comes back home, just like the gentle memories that make my spirit roam. Watching the tide turn under the quiet evening sun, I think of all the beautiful things that we had once begun. The waves are singing softly of a love that cannot die, and keeping us together as the years go flying by. The ocean has a memory that stretches deep and wide, and keeps the secret history of every single tide. It carries all our laughter and our tears into the deep, a beautiful archive that the earth will always keep. Watching the tide turn under the quiet evening sun, I think of all the beautiful things that we had once begun. The waves are singing softly of a love that cannot die, and keeping us together as the years go flying by. The water rises slowly now to touch my dusty shoes, but I am warm with memories that I will never lose.
rocking chair is squeaking on the quiet front porch floor, and I am looking backward to the days that are no more. The air is sweet and heavy with the scent of summer rose, a gentle reminder of the way the story goes. We were so young and busy, trying hard to make our way, that we did not appreciate the beauty of the day. But now that I am older and the winter has set in, I see how truly blessed our lives have always been. We chased after the shadows and the fancy silver rings, but the only thing that mattered was the joy that true love brings. Our yesterday was gold, and it will always shine so bright to guide us through the darkness of the longest winter night. We built a beautiful empire on a simple loving kiss, and nothing in the world can ever match a grace like this. I see your old gray sweater hanging on the wooden hook, and remember how you'd wear it when you read a heavy book. Your eyes are still as lovely as the day we first had met, with a quiet kind of beauty that I never will forget. We walk the path together through the sunshine and the rain, and share the heavy burdens of our happiness and pain. We chased after the shadows and the fancy silver rings, but the only thing that mattered was the joy that true love brings. Our yesterday was gold, and it will always shine so bright to guide us through the darkness of the longest winter night. We built a beautiful empire on a simple loving kiss, and nothing in the world can ever match a grace like this. The sunset is painting all the clouds in shades of red as we prepare to lay our tired bodies in the bed. We have no regrets about the journey